Welcome to Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a weekly podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host Dennis Simpson as we discuss the history, facts, people, places, events, lots more surrounding Hot Springs Village, Arkansas. Visit the website at hotspringsvillageinside.com. Welcome back to another episode of HSVinsideout.com. That's the website, too. Well, that is the web. I just said website, didn't I?
You did.
Okay, I've got Dennis Simpson syndrome now. Bloopers at the beginning already. Hot Springs Village Inside Out is the podcast. HSVinsideout.com is the website. Or you can go the long way, hotspringsvillageinsideout.com, too. He is Dennis R. Simpson. I'm Randy Cantrell, and we've got a special guest today that I'm going to let Dennis introduce.
Well, I tell you what, this is something I've looked forward to for a long time. Mr. Tracy Simpson, not related by any way, just the other Simpson, as we say. I used to say that when I was a kid, I looked a lot like Bart, but I'm beginning to look more like Homer every day. But Tracy, who looks like neither one of us, is the resident morning man at KVRE, the radio station here in the village, 92.9. Streaming live, KVRE. I do a pretty good Tracy. I don't know if you know that, Tracy.
It did sound like, I'll tell you what, a little bit of work, a little fine tuning there, but otherwise, yeah, I mean,
we'll tweak it. We'll tweak it.
I go on vacation, I've got somebody to fill in for me.
No, I don't know. No. I don't know if you're going to have somebody dragging their tail up there at 5:55 every morning. So that, what does the morning job includes early, right? Or 5:59? Is that right?
Yeah, I was going to say 5:59 and a half. They call it the crack of dawn for some reason, because to get up that early, you got to be a little cracked. But it's something I've been doing for a long time anyway. With other jobs I've had in the past with radio or television, you're going to get up early. It doesn't matter what the day has for you, because eventually you're going to be on the set, and whether it's radio or television, and your call time could be at 10 o'clock, but you may not be there till 4 that afternoon, depending on what's going on. But with this, it's a little bit more precise, being that 6 to 10 every morning, and knowing what your challenges are that morning, whether it's weather, which I've encountered through the snow and ice and whatever. But, usually we get there early enough to where we know we got drive time, people getting up and waking up, and we're ready to roll.
Well, let me ask specifically, give me the story. This is what we ask everybody. How did you get to Hot Springs Village? Why Hot Springs Village? What worked for you? How did you get here?
I've been affiliated with Hot Springs Village for a long time. I'm actually what we call a spa youth. I'm from Hot Springs. And through the years, Hot Springs Village was a place to go, of course, and play some of the pristine courses in golf, and also meet other people. And there were summer jobs up there when I was in high school. It was still a building area some 40 plus years ago. And so they were still a lot of jobs and a lot of things to do, activities. Of course, with the lakes, as we call the Tri-Lakes area here, there were so many things to do up there, activities. And I enjoyed meeting people up there, because it is a melting pot. It's similar to New York, Dallas, Memphis, whatever the case is. There's all walks of life up there. And you meet some interesting people, and that's what brought me there. And, of course, moving off for a little while, joining other ventures, but then coming back, there was an opportunity to be a part of the radio station, and also to meet other people in the same business. And once I met Tom and Polly and Alice, it was a pretty good little combination all of a sudden. And then the next thing you knew, I was doing the football show, of course, and they asked me about being the morning guy, which I had done in Dallas, I'd done in Austin, and out in LA. And I thought, well, I get up early in the mornings anyway, so why don't we see if this is something that'll work? And 8 years later, it's sort of working. So, Hot Springs Village is a great place, great people, a great opportunity to meet other people from other areas and learn backgrounds, which I'm an enthusiast about meeting people from other parts of the world. And you can meet just about anybody in the village from all walks of life. And you meet some really good people too at that.
So Tracy, how'd you get started in radio?
Years back, I was going to University of Texas. That's where I went and played ball down there. And I was going to go actually into counseling and with a background in media. And just so happens a kid didn't show up for the late night radio show there at campus. And I was down the hall, and it was one of those things, right place, right time. And I stepped in, and 2.5 years later, I was still there.
As
and
Woody Allen says, Woody Allen says the key to success is showing up.
And that was the deal. And it was a deal where you could be on radio, you could play music and study at the same time. You could go over your cliff notes, whatever the case is, and people could come in. They didn't have video like they do now with, different radio stations. And it was easy for me to, multitask while I was up there. And it was right down the hall from me. I didn't have to go very far. So it was an opportunity that I did not really anticipate becoming a profession. And one thing led to another. And before I knew it, I was asked to hand in resumes at different places around the United States, and also for television too. Voiceovers was one of the biggie. And that right there, I believe, led me down the path, because being multitasking as far as different backgrounds of personalities, I can talk different ways. Or Irish Indian background, you learn to talk different ways. So, and that was the opportunity that I had never even looked at. And then all of a sudden it was laid right in my lap, and I picked up the ball and ran with it.
All right. You were playing ball at UT. What kind of ball were you playing at UT?
Played football, not very much. Matter of fact, went down there. Coach Freddie Akers asked me to come down there. Back in those days, though, it was a joint effort for your GPA, and I had a decent GPA is what I had, and I thought I could play decent ball, but it was more or less a love for the sport and just being involved. I happened to be in a fraternity, Kappa Sig, and it worked out for me to not only be in that athletic dorm, but also over in the Kappa Sig dorm. And a lot of the football players were Kappa Sigs. And it just happened to work out to where I ran into a lot of friends at that time, and now they're lifelong friends from the football field or from the Kappa Sig background.
Your first broadcast job was?
My first broadcast job actually was in North Little Rock. And I worked at a radio station over there, but I was not on the air, though. Actually, I was in the background. And if I think Mr. Simpson down there in the corner knows most of those guys, Clive and a couple of those other gentlemen over there. And I worked in the back running errands, running whatever they needed me to do, picking up mics, doing stuff. And then I got a chance to do voiceovers. And then the next thing I know, I had a call from Hot Springs, Arkansas, of all places. And they said they're opening up a TV station called KRZB. And the owner at that time was wanting to develop all he could about Hot Springs and the surrounding areas. And I just happened to be the guy to do the day show. And one thing led to another. And you learn all aspects. When you're in a small, whether it's radio or television, you learn to wear many hats. And so from the time you picked up the camera and set it up on a tripod and went and did a newscast, and then went back and edited it, and then had it ready for the noon news or the 6 o'clock news. And that led to another opportunity down the road. But TV was my first love, but then radio, I found out was a lot easier.
Now you mentioned 2 top 5 markets. You mentioned Dallas and LA. So we got to hear those stories.
Yeah.
Well, most of your opportunities, Dallas was just an opportunity. When I left Austin, I was going to work on getting my master's degree at University of Texas at Dallas. And Las Colinas is, for people who don't know, is one of the hubs for the Southwest of television. They have a full, it's just like a mini Hollywood out there. And there were so many opportunities to do side gigs, and they were running all kinds of network spots through there, because Texas is a right to work state. You don't have to be in a union. So that means you can pretty much pay them what you want. And the market was wide open at that time. And the opportunity rose to where I was able to audition I was with the Mary Collins group, and they were also in LA. She had office there. And so we would, at that time, Southwest was, nonstop, $39 for both ways. And you could go audition in LA, get a spot, turn around and come back and be in Dallas, the next day. And then, go ahead and continue my academics at UTD, do more commercials, do more TV programs, voiceovers. And it wasn't nothing to it. So being single and full of energy, that's what you did. And starving too. That's what you did. You went where your agent told you to go.
So let me get this straight. So hunger can be a motivator. Is that what I hear?
Oh, well, would you say touche on that one, Mr. Simpson?
I would. It can be a great motivator, I've got a million really roads to go down. You're one of the most diverse people I think we'll ever talk to, Tracy, but I've got to ask, tell me about Willie Water. How do you get in a water bottling company with Willie Nelson?
Well, that was a whole nother venture. My brother and I have started several ventures through our lifetime. We were fortunate enough to have a mom that pushed us hard. One of her famous quotes is, "No working, no eating." My father passed away when I was 2 years old, and my brother was 5, and we pretty much teamed up together. She developed from a 4-plex apartment complex that she bought with the insurance money from my father's passed away, developed it into, at one point, we had over 100 houses and 14 apartment complexes. And that's what we did. We worked on those all the time. And so we capitalized on trying other ventures, and like Dallas and other places, we got to know people. So we started ventures over there buying. And at that time, Dallas was just booming with the apartment complexes in the early 90s. And so we were trying to get in on that. And it just so happens that my brother ran into a guy named Willie Nelson. And one thing led to another, and he became his tour manager. And then the next thing you know, it was just a matter of, where's the best water in the world? Arkansas. And Willie would come up here and do gigs all the time. He loved being in Eureka. He loved being in Hot Springs. He was on his way to Nashville. And one thing led to another. And we purchased a place over in right outside of Mount Ida. And it was a Springs. And we talked to Willie about it. And sure enough, there's one thing that cures cottonmouth, and that's spring water. So as they say, the rest is history, and his label went. And that was just one of our many ventures. We had so many different special labels is what we actually, and we had product in Kroger, product in Albertsons, product in Walmart. And it just led us into a different path for another opportunity, because once we sold that business, we just went into another one. But at the forefront of it, it was able also, because Willie, as you all know, loved being in movies. And so we always got these bit parts in all of his movies. And that was the best part about it. You were on the set all the time. I was fortunate enough to be able to be on the bus with him a lot, not partaking in everything, but keeping my eyes open and my mouth shut. And you learned a lot, and we'll leave it at that. Okay.
Yeah, all you had to do is breathe anyway, secondhand.
That was the whole deal. Yeah. So,
and try to avoid a contact high, right? Try to avoid a contact high.
Well, you're around Willie, you're going to get a con. I don't care about that. You're going to, but it's just that simple. But it's it was one of those instances where we were fortunate enough to come across people that were nice to us. And that was the whole idea about it. There's my big dog right there. This is Ethel.
Oh.
Sorry, guys.
There you go.
What's her name again?
Don't look, Ethel.
Ethel.
I love it.
Tell us, speak. Tell us. Okay. So anyway, that was the instance that we were able to hang out with Willie and do some things that other people weren't. And so we went on the road with him quite a bit for years. And when we sold that business, it was it behooved us to get into other deals with other people. And we still talk to Willie all the time, especially during his birthday in April, and in contact with him all the time. So
well, I got to make. I'm sorry. I got to make note. I hear a parallel here. It sounds like your story's all over the map, but I hear two overriding factors number one, show up and be there. And number two, when you're working hard, you run into good people.
Well, you're going to run into a diversified group. That's just that simple, because when you're doing something like that, there's also other people out there trying to look over your shoulder. It's just that simple. And don't get me wrong, but it's a tough life. I'm going to tell you that right now. It is a tough life as far as being on the road like Willie and those guys are. It's not for the meek. And one thing that we instilled in us a long time ago, my mom was very much on family, and family's always first and the man above. And so being on the road just really wasn't in tune to what we wanted. So it was a matter of fact, well, let's go back to Hot Springs. Let's establish more ground there, and let's do some other endeavors. And at the same time, just like we were talking about Hot Springs Village a while ago, you meet a diversification of people all around this area. And, it's just not Arkansas or Hot Springs. It's people from all over everywhere. And so it's amazing that that the people that we've met through the years, and it's a lot of fun. That's the essence of it. Also, if you're not having fun, Dennis, you've known this for a long time. If you're not having fun, why do it?
Exactly. It ain't worth it.
Now,
Yeah.
are you and your brother? So are you and your brother still involved in joint enterprises?
No pun on words, but not with Willie anymore. How about that one?
I like that one. I like that one.
Did I catch you on that one?
No, yeah, I did. Well, see, here's what happens. Let me explain something, Randy. I will text Tracy a great joke in the middle of the morning, and he will use it sometimes on the radio, and sometimes not even give me credit, Randy. Yeah. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. So, I mean, I feel like the joke writer behind the scenes some days.
Well, let me tell you this, though, and you guys ought to know this just from the business y'all been in. There's movies out everywhere. Okay. What people see on the silver screen is one thing, but look behind it and how many people it took to make that picture. Everybody wants to see Tom Cruise and, oh my gosh, Tom, but for every Tom Cruise movies, there's 1,000 people behind him making it happen. Yeah. And eventually it comes around to that executive producer who's really the go-to guy. So even though I don't give you credit, D, I'm telling you what, I've thought about it, and next time I'll put it in the credits for you. How's that?
You can just give me some water. We'll be good. We'll sweat on it.
Hey, that we do have. Just, but yeah, the ventures they come and go, and what you have to realize is that you're not going to win every one of them. It's just like being on a ball team. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but you dress out for them all. It's just that simple. And you get knocked down, you get back up. It's just that simple. But along the way also, though, you don't forget those who got you where you're at. You simply take care of other people, and you do not forget the people that got you there. It's just that simple. It's so important to help other people. And just like when I end my show every day, people helping people. Yeah. All lives matter.
Well, didn't Daryl Rolla say you dance with who brung you?
It's that simple. It's that simple. You dance, but then you don't have to leave with them, but you dance with them. That's for sure.
There's that. Yeah, there's that. Now, when did you get to KVRE and start doing this morning gig?
This is my 8th year. October 1st will be my 8th year there, and it was a freak kind of deal. When I came back, I'd done a stunt on several shows and had modeled in commercials, but once again, my motivation and drive was to get back to Hot Springs around my family. I missed my family. I grew up here in Hot Springs, 5th generation. My mom was actually born at the bottom of where Lake Ouachita is, at a place called Blakely Camp. And being around family, because we're a tight bunch. I have 2 other brothers also. And it was so instrumental in getting back. Plus, there was another reason too. A lady that I'd been dating for quite some time, who's now my wife, which 25 years in 2 weeks. I just missed the whole family situation, and I wanted to come back here. So the opportunity arose. I'd already made enough to where I was I was happy. I was living okay, no problems. And what the area lacked was programming for kids and for the community. And my avenue from sports, football, which I dearly loved. I grew up here, played at Hot Springs High, but they didn't have radio. There was no radio for the football programs. And you guys well know in Texas, oh my gosh, I mean, it's on TV, not just radio. I mean, if you're not on the radio, or at least on the radio, then why are you even playing? Well, nobody had that here. So I wrote and produced and sold the shows, and then looked up Tom Nichols, who actually had been some of my games back in the day for Hot Springs High. And it was just a match. And he said, let's do it. And so it started off just as a Friday night gig during football. And then the opportunity arose where the morning slot opened up, and they said, do you want it? And you can only golf and hunt and fish so much. And I'm already up at that time of the hour. I said, let's try it. And 8 years later, I'm still getting up every morning at 92.9. So,
and streaming live, KVRE. I think that's how you do it. I think that's how you do it.
And, yeah. And that's what's amazing, that I love the part seeing where when I first started there in the primitive stages, and now to where it is now, it's where with the help of people like Dennis and others and Ted, and it's just become, it's a family operation, and it grows, and they're so generous there. They're a giving bunch, and they want you to be, they want everybody to be a part of everything. And we are. And whether it's production or on air talent or sales or whatever, everybody's in on everything, and they want everybody to be happy. And that was the atmosphere that I grew up at. I mean, we didn't have a lot when I was a kid. Cornbread and beans, we thought, oh my goodness, and milk, whoa. And so it didn't take a whole lot, but I think times have changed a little bit. But that motivated me to take the job and to be around these people, because they're a super bunch. Unbelievable. They're so generous. It's unbelievable. And they're very community minded. They have what you call a heart. And Tom's been doing this for 60 plus years. And I'll tell you what, when you think you know everything, trust me, there's going to be something that comes up and says, oh, wow, that's something I didn't know. And every day I go in there and I learn, and I love it. And that's what's fun about it. If, like we said a while ago, let's go back a couple of minutes. If you're not having fun, why do it? If you're not helping somebody, why do it? And that's what it's all about: having fun, helping somebody else. Because it's living the life of Riley. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah. Well, Tracy, I've got one of my favorite songs. It's a Kathy Mattea song. And by the way, I think you guys should compare obscure songs, because we go from Waylon and David Allan Cole to the Goo Goo Dolls, and right back to Lady Gaga, and then back over to Dolly. And your show isn't that's not an understatement. That's not an understatement. But one of my favorite songs by Kathy Mattea is called 334578. And it talks about the old things that used to exist. Me and the freeform radio, me and the 8-track tapes, and it goes on. But she slips in, and it's just a quick word. It's just a quick reference. Me and the all night radio, and me and the freeform radio. That Randy, I know you know this, and most of our listeners, we may not really pay attention to it. Call your local radio station, call 94.1, call 97.5, call any of them. Number one, ask for a song in the next 2 weeks, because they're programmed for weeks out at a time. And number two, that song has to be exactly in their exact demographic profile that the experts in New York or LA have told them exactly it is. And it usually doesn't involve Dolly Parton backed up against the Goo Goo Dolls. Am I right here, Tracy?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, diversification, that goes back to what we were talking earlier that Randy brought up, and you did also. How'd you get into the water? How'd you get it? I've been in real estate. I've been in water. I've been in whatever. Once again, makes me happy, makes a little bit of money, but helps other people out. And what I think the best part of the show is the diversification, and like you're saying, because it spans. I have people call in that are from 18 to 80. And as long as, and here's another one thing, as long as my mom, is not going to get on to me about playing something, then I know it's okay to play. Okay. I don't need a 90-year-old spanking me still. Okay. So, but as long as you're making a diversified group like that happy, and it's tough, it really is tough, but you encounter so many different backgrounds. And if I can make one person smile or feel a little bit better about that day, about getting up in the morning, about heading out where they're going, about helping somebody else. That's what it's all about. You want to be able to help somebody to help somebody else. It's a domino effect, and being positive. And music is such a diversified background. It's the one true form that can relate to everybody in the whole world. I'm telling you. And that is, it's just one form.
Well, I don't know.
Everybody can understand. And it's whether it's Hispanic, but.
Well, I was just going to say, I don't know any other radio station in the United States that has a free form radio like this, that you can play this wide a variety, whatever you want. I can text or call and say, hey, Tracy, I'd like to hear Diane and I were listening to so-and-so, or David Allen Cole's in the hospital. Let's hear that, or whatever. But I want to tell you a story, just a piece of it, Randy. And I don't know if you heard this too. Ann and Nancy Wilson of Heart, which we've all, Dreamboat Annie and all these great, great songs they've done. Ann Wilson said she had lived in the Washington, Spokane, Seattle area for nearly her entire life. And she recently, about the last 3 or 4 years, she got married and moved to the panhandle of Texas. And she said, I realized then what a bubble I was in. And I was like, what on earth is she talking about? And she said, Spokane and Seattle are these more progressive and more liberal places. And she said, we talk about tolerance all the time. I didn't know jack about tolerance until I moved to North Florida, and I had to figure out that some people had Trump signs in their yard and they weren't evil people. And there were other people that had Biden signs that were just great folks too. She said, I realized living in that bubble, my word tolerance didn't mean anything because I didn't have to tolerate anybody. But she said, when I moved to a broader area, I got a lesson, right, Trace?
Well, and that's the whole idea. Randy, you've lived in a large city. You can find so many different backgrounds. And you can get out, and whether it's on your bicycle or driving, you can go in, and you don't even know you're going to another town. But you all of a sudden it's a different language. Try going to a 7-Eleven over in Dallas somewhere, especially maybe off Lower Greenville or something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You're going to run into how many different languages, you know what I mean? But music brings it all together. And if I can, just like you said, if I can play it, Creedence Clearwater one time and have some old war veteran, go, man, I was listening to that in 68 and it got me through that night when I was on KP or something, and then I play another song that may be by, like you said, Ann and Nancy Wilson, Dreamboat Annie or something. And some little girl said, oh, I'll never forget the prom that I danced that to, in 78, you know what I'm saying? So the diversification, if you can put up with me, that's the whole idea about it. But the main motive here is the music. And then I like, of course, just the same as you, Randy, we like sharing our experiences. We like sharing positive influences on people. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The main essence of it all, once again, if you're not having fun and you're not helping somebody, why do it? And I've been very fortunate. Very fortunate.
Where do you think, where's your passion for this whole, because the theme of this whole thing seems to be diversity. Your attraction to the diverse cultures and diverse people and diverse backgrounds. Where does that come from, you think?
Tolerance. My family originated from, in Oklahoma. Most of them were born on the reservation in Oklahoma, but then also on the reverse side, we had the immigrants. I'm Irish Indian. My mom literally was born in an army tent because they wouldn't let them in the hospital. And she instilled to us one of her other sayings: it's a lot easier to help somebody up than push them down. And it doesn't matter if you were blind, how would you know somebody's color? Yeah. And so tolerance is the biggest part right now, helping out people. That people can't help what they're born into. They can help the way they act and the way they, attire, the way they group up in different ways and backgrounds and stuff as they get older. But you're born into a certain area, and sometimes you can't help that. So what we have to do as a whole, and that's what I try to do, the diversification comes from whatever background you're from, man. It don't matter. There's good in everybody. You got to dig a little deeper sometimes, but the whole essence of it all is the background of these people. We are the melting pot of the world. Back in the day, what does it say on the bottom of the Statue of Liberty? Bring us your poor, your weak, bring us, everybody. We've lost a lot of that. A lot of that we've lost through the last couple of decades. And I know we're having a difficult time, and I'm not going to get into politics or anything, but we still have to reach out and help people. You know what? I was reading an article the other day about, if you're reading this, 60% of the people in the world can't read. If you're sitting in a chair in an air-conditioned room, 90% of the people in the world aren't doing that. If you're sitting there eating a sandwich while you're reading this in a chair with air conditioning, 95% of probably the people in the world. So everybody, and here's one thing I think everybody should have to do. Go live in a third world country for 30 days. I'd try to get you 60, but you wouldn't make it. And give up the simple things in life. Toilet paper. We all learned that about a year and a half ago, didn't we? The surge, but everybody should have to go live in a third world country for 30 days. And then you would appreciate USA a lot more. And it's just that simple. I'm proud where I'm from. I fly a flag out my front yard. I fly one down by my pond. We fly one at the radio station. The diversification, gang. I got news for you. We're all not just Anglos or come from one tribe or whatever the case is, but together we're Americans, and we need to respect that. We need to respect that. We need to instill that in our young. Otherwise, we are a lost society, and we've got to get back to that. I'm telling you that right now. And this goes back to the music. I can play a song, and whether you don't understand the English or not, that tune in there can just change your whole day. I can't tell you how many emails I get or calls where people are just, thank you, I woke up on, for the bad note, or I'm going through a bad time right now, or somebody I know is going through a bad time, but I play one song and then they call and it just changes their whole day. And, and that's what the essence of it is. It doesn't matter what your background is. The whole essence of it is trying to make these people, trying to just take the load off people, trying to make them happy a little bit,
Well, I didn't know the story about your mom, which is an exceptional story. And if you think about it, that if anybody had the right to be bitter or to teach their kids that, you don't trust this other group over here, she had the right. I would grant that she would have that right. But the bottom line is that because she saw a wider, broader world, we all can. And let's face it, Tracy, what we're coming down, the discussion we're talking about is not devolving into tribalism, because that's what tears apart every country you can talk about is a type of tribalism or something like that. Randy, what else have you got, buddy? Got some other questions, or are we about running it up?
I'm ready for the lightning round if you guys are.
Did you mention the lightning round to Tracy? Because this could
not.
be okay. Yeah, I didn't either.
I did not. Okay, but before we do that, Tracy, what didn't we ask you that we should have asked you?
Well, mainly is about my family because I'm proud of my family. I married. I got lucky, is what I got. I was a spoiled brat growing up, the bottom of four boys, and I still can't do no wrong in my mom's eyes. And I get pretty much what I want. And I was lucky enough to find a girl that put up with all my shenanigans and me traveling the world, trying to find myself. And like I said, 25 years later in 2 weeks, I haven't been able to shake her. And I've got my boys. And trust me, I've done some stuff. But I've got a beautiful family. I've been so lucky in life, but I've been able to turn around and help other people. So when people start to talk to me about it, I always bring up my family, my mom, my brothers, and everybody because we're so family orientated. And that's the biggest part about it. My family. I love my family.
And Ethel.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that Ethel kind of loves her life too.
Yeah, Ethel's got a pretty good gig going on. She don't want you messing up her gig.
Wait a minute, hold on, time out. And we just adopted a new one. This is
oh, looky there.
It was at the bus barn. Been all by itself, wasn't doing very well. So 2 weeks old, we bottle fed it, and it's only got one eye. And so we named it Willie remember the movie Goonies? One Eye Willie?
Yeah.
So we named it Willie. And so we're big animal lovers, of course. I live on a big farm. I've got all the room in the world, and horses, cows, chickens, ducks, rabbits, you name it, we got it. But my boys have been real instrumental in learning how to take care of things, responsibilities. And as you well know, with pets come responsibilities if you do it right. And that instilled in them things that they're going to take in life and run with it. Because last time I checked, most of these animals can't turn on a water faucet outside. They, on a hot day, you know how it is, even though mine's got a pedal out there they can step on. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. But responsibility there.
For those of you who can't see and that aren't watching the podcast, if you're just listening, Ethel is 90 pounds plus, I guess, maybe ish.
Yeah. About 96,
and there's a little bitty gray kitten that may weigh a pound, maybe weigh a pound. And Ethel's licking it now. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, we're a pet friendly show, that's for sure.
That's for sure. We gotta be. They bark during the middle of the show.
Yeah. All right, here's the lightning. Here's the lightning round.
Let's go.
This is really easy. Hiking, boating, golf, or tennis?
Oh gosh, boating.
Because it includes fishing. Yeah.
Hamburger or taco?
Oh, hamburger.
Beaches or woods?
You can't do this to me, man. Come on. That's no, man. Don't do that. Woods.
Comedy or mystery?
Yeah. Oh, mystery.
Appetizer or dessert?
Dessert. Oh, yeah. Well,
all right. What's your favorite?
I do all three.
What's your favorite dessert?
Coconut cream pie. Top bar. Coconut cream pie.
Look at there.
Oh,
Dress or casual?
Oh, casual. Shorts, sandals, tennis shoes.
Reading, watching, or listening?
Listening.
Stripes or plaids?
Oh, stripes, man. Stripes.
Favorite movie?
Jeremiah Johnson.
Looky there.
Yeah.
Going old school. I like it.
Yeah.
Favorite musician or band?
Woo!
Growing up, Pink Floyd. Definitely had back in those days.
I like it.
Then, and then went on to I like my sister-in-law's band, Mustang Sally and the Blame too, though. But also Journey. I like Journey a lot.
All right, I added one the other day. First concert you ever went to?
First concert I ever went to was ZZ Top, and I forgot who was with them, but it was ZZ Top. I saw them in Austin, Texas, in 1972.
That little old band from Texas.
That's
little
awesome.
Band from Texas, ZZ Top. Yep.
That's
1972.
awesome.
Yep.
Thanks for doing this.
And I like them too.
Yeah, I do too. Thanks for doing this. It's been a pleasure. Dennis, I'm going to let you dismount.
Well, once again, this has been something I've been looking forward for a long time. Tracy, thanks for making the time for us. Our listeners, who are over 1,000 people on listeners over 1,010 maybe on Facebook.
1,040.
1,040 and
Wow.
rolling every day, and over 100 viewers, subscribed viewers on YouTube. Man, keep listening and sharing. I hope you realize, and Tracy's a perfect example here. This is not a gotcha journalism. We're not going to play that game, and we're not going to grind an axe on somebody's head every morning. We want good, healthy, happy information, and we'd love to hear the stories, just like you, Tracy. Love hearing it. For Hot Springs Village Inside Out, I'm Dennis Simpson, and he's
Randy Cantrell.
And thanks for joining us, Tracy. We'll see y'all next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.